I'm the Kiwi Barefoot Gardener and welcome back to the channel. Today is Sunday the 15th of June and I'm currently hanging out in the greenhouse. It's a lovely sunny day but there's a very cold wind, so I'm just out enjoying some of that sun while I can, because it's been a bit cold and wet here for the last 9-10 days. This week's video is going to be a bit of a potpourri of things around the garden. I'm looking at cutting back the asparagus and mulching that. I'm looking at planting some fruit canes, some raspberries, and also looking at putting in a winter sweet I got recently. I'm looking at harvesting some of my Kumara and seeing how far away is my yams. I noticed that they have foliage has died back quite a lot in this really cold wet weather we've had, so that's good, that's all positive. But this afternoon I'm looking at hanging out in the greenhouse to do a few things. I noticed the other day that the lettuce that I had growing in one of the raised beds has got full of whitefly and it's bolted anyway. I'm going to open up the wee greenhouses behind me and have a good check of everything. They've all been sealed up for about the last 10 days or so, but I did pop my head in probably about 5 days ago and give things a wee bit of a water. But they need all checking, and I think some of the stuff needs to come out into the main part of the greenhouse because they're not getting enough light and they're starting to get long and stretchy. I'm also going to have a wee check out, see what else needs to be done around the greenhouse, as I still can't get out onto the main garden areas around the front, especially because the ground is still quite boggy. Right, let's have a look at these little greenhouses and see what's going on in there. So I've opened up the little poly, or the first one, and things look pretty good in here. Some of them are getting a bit leggy. These are the ones that I potted up a few weeks ago, and from little 6 cells into bigger 6 cells, and they're growing quite nicely, but I think I need to get them out into the light. So what I'll do is take them out of here soon once I've cleared the little raised bed of lettuce, and pop them there, and they can hang out there and get a bit more light and get a bit stronger before I start putting them outside during the day to harden off. And then I'll eventually leave them outside in some racks I've got until I want them for the garden itself. Down here on this shelf I've got some flowers that I potted up my first week with you. Most of the petunias have done okay. This tray, all bar one, have died, but if I remember rightly they were really quite tiny. But most of the Elysium that I potted up, it's all coming on strongly, and these I think are dianthus. No, they're carnations, and they seem to be doing okay. Okay, the lighting's not amazing in here, so I'm going to have to do this handheld, so sorry about the shakes. Even with the selfie stick it's not going to be great. So what I'm going to do is peel off all this protective bubble wrap, or just knock it back, and then pull out the lettuce. As you can see, the lettuce has gone a bit funny because of the whitefly. Probably hasn't helped that the weather's been colder than it really likes as well, so I'm just going to pull all this out now, and probably what I'll do is bring out some of the stuff that's been sitting in the little greenhouses to protect it and put it here so it gets more light over the next few weeks. I'll pop this lettuce, once I've got it all out, into the compost bin. No one's actually wanting to eat lettuce around home at the moment anyway. Right, so I've pulled the covers off both these beds because even with the cold weather, the temp hasn't dropped too badly in here. It was about 4.6 in the last few days, so that's good. So give all these a bit more light. So at the back is the brassicas I potted up a couple of weeks ago. Then there is some, get my finger in the right place, there's some kale there for a friend, and the lettuces that I potted up a while back that really are still looking quite weedy, and I'm hoping that they'll bulk out a bit more. And at the back is some broad beans that I'm bringing on, hopefully to be able to plant out later. Having pulled back the covers of my pet choy though, I noticed I have been slugged. Completely annihilated that one, and hasn't had a munch on that one, and you can see the slime trail. I've had a look, I can't find the little bugger. He may be hiding in here in the mint, which is just down here. So I don't really have a lot of problems with slugs as a rule. It's fairly dry here, so they don't seem to survive, but with all the rain and that, they seem to have come out and I have been slugged. So I'm going to sort that out in a few minutes. I find that if I use the crushed eggshells, I usually have really good success with that. So I'm going to spread them around, including around this stuff over here, because I'm sure Mr. Slug and his friends are probably going to come over and try and have a munch of those as well. He's not welcome. Right, protection's up. I'm not sure if that back middle pak choy will survive, but we'll give it a couple of days or a week or so and see what happens. I think I've got some spare. Yes, it's a lot of eggshell. It won't hurt the soil, it adds calcium, but I do find it usually works for me. We eat quite a lot of eggs, so I just collect all the eggshells and dry them and crush them and then just store them in ice cream containers until I need them. So I just went and grabbed one and put them out. So last week we were planting garlic and I was talking about planting the big cloves, but that I'd tried a experiment of putting all the tiddly ones that I had left over from when I planted my garlic in the main beds, and I've just checked now and we have germination. They're not all up, but there's quite a few, so I might even do that with the rest of the tiddly ones that I had left over from planting the garlic in the pot with you guys. Awesome. Good morning. It is Monday the 16th of June at around about 10:30 in the morning. We've had a reasonable frost here, currently about 5 degrees, but what I'm hoping to do today is to cut back these asparagus ferns and to get the beds mulched. These will be 3-year-old crowns this coming spring, so I'll be able to fully harvest from them. Last spring I managed to get a wee bit off them. I was being wary, not wanting to take too much, knowing I needed to feed the crowns. As you can see, I've got my asparagus in raised planters here. There's 4 of them, and I've got 4 crowns in each of them. Look who's showing up to give me a hand. He's my supervisor, Louis. He loves sitting in these beds, especially in the spring and summer, because in the morning, because the sun comes in on them. I'm going to sit and do this because it's easier on my back, but as you can see, my helper's here supervising now. I'm just going to start off with getting rid of some of the sticks that I used. I'm going to have to use a bit stronger sticks next year. I think these ones didn't quite keep it back enough. Ooh. Watch out, kitty cat. What are you doing, Louie Boo? Hey, Louie Boo? Hey, Lulu? Hey? You telling everyone you're a good gardener? Are you a good gardener? Hey, Louie Boo? So when you're cutting off the asparagus, you can either cut it right to the base, but I don't tend to because I like to know where the crowns are, or just cut it just above the base. Of course, when you've got a helping hand here, you've got to be careful you're not cutting them, of course. Now, you going to let me do this, or are you going to get in the way? Watch yourself. and I'm just going to cut mine up into bits because it's easier to dispose of that way. Now, with my asparagus ferns, I just chop them up and pop them into the green bin because while yes, you could put them in the compost, my compost is not hot enough to kill off any seeds, and I don't really want asparagus ferns everywhere through my garden. I grew these asparagus from seed originally rather than planting an established crown. So one bed done, 3 more to go. I'm going to clear each bed first, then I'm going to go through and replace each of these corner posts with much stronger sticks rather than these canes, and then I'll go through and mulch the lot all at once. 2 down, 2 to go. My helper's deserted me though. 3 down, 1 to go. Now this here in the pot, hang on, I'll grab it, was my spear. So it's been in there for 3 years now. So I am going to later on probably plant it in one of the beds. I've got one crown that's doing very poorly. It's only put out 1 shoot last year, so I'm going to probably either just lay this next to it or replace it completely. But this has done surprisingly well in this pot. Right, all clear. Now on to the next stage. Okay, so it is Friday the 20th, it's Matariki. It's taken me a few days to get back to doing the asparagus beds, but what I'm going to do today is pop in some new stakes to each of the corners so that I can put strings around them, and then I'm going to mulch them up ready for next spring. Right, I've put on all these stakes. The idea is that I'll be able to tie strings around them and support the ferns when they're growing at their full size after I've finished harvesting. You harvest for about 6 weeks and then you let the ferns grow over summer so that they can feed the crown for the next spring. So I've got most of them in, but I'm short of about 4, so I'll get a couple more in the next week or 2. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is going to plant my spear asparagus that I've got in this pot that's busting out, but I'm just going to plant it on top of an existing crown that's not doing very well, and see how that goes. I'm no expert on asparagus. This is my first time actually growing them, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Normally you get the crown as a bare root, but because mine are in pots, I'm going to see how I can go getting it in without digging a huge hole. Right, I've had to resort to getting some snips because I can't get that out of the pot. So I'm going to destroy the pot. And don't cringe with me using these for my pot cutting. I know it's not good, but it's the only thing I've got that would cut this pot. Well, that was a bit more of a mission than I expected. But anyway, nice root system. So I will get that planted. There's the crown there, and we'll see what it produces. Just need to make a hole big enough for it now. Right, I got that in and it's looking good. Let me head down so that you can see me. What I'm going to do now is put some really well rotted sheep manure on it. It's sort of the end bits of dags and things like that. And then I'll just put a really fine layer of compost also over the top of it. And that's it for the season. I'll string these up at some stage, but there's no urgency till the asparagus starts coming through. looks good. So I've got the stakes high enough, hopefully, so that the fronds won't fall all over the path like they did last summer. And all 4 beds are now mulched with well-rotted sheep poo and compost over the top of them. So they can sit there now till spring, where hopefully I'll get some nice asparagus for this year. Looking forward to it. Right, now for the Kumara. So I've already had a wee poke around in a harvest in this bed here and pulled stuff out, but the vines have died right back, well, fairly well right back in the last few weeks. So I'm going to at least harvest the bed that I've already had a good poke around in, and depending on what I find, I may harvest one or both the others. I've already taken a whole lot of cuttings probably about 3-4 weeks ago before our really cold weather, and I've got them inside in water and they've already put roots down, so I'm hoping I won't have to do the old Kumara in the water or the dirt thing to get my slips this year. Huge, good for 2 slips, so I'm quite happy with that. I might have another go at having a look at these ones and see if I get anything bigger, but I might leave the majority of them for another week or 2. Right, it's that time of week again. We sit down and have a cuppa together. It's been a very busy week and family events have taken priority over gardening this week. So I didn't get time to do all the things that I thought I might, so the winter sweet and the yams and the raspberry canes will all have to wait till next week. However, I did get the greenhouse sorted, but the slug did get past my defences of the eggshells, so I'm going to have to come up with something else to get him, because he's had another munch on the pack joy. It did take me a couple of days to get the asparagus beds sorted, but today I managed to finish them up with getting the stakes in along the corners, and then I've mulched them with a good amount of sheep poo and compost. Now they should be sorted for the winter, and I'll just keep an eye out to see when the first asparagus shows up. I've never grown asparagus before, so these first 3 years has been interesting, learning how to do it and when not to cut and when to cut and how to tie back and all that. I grew those asparagus from seed myself, so it's been a bit of a journey, but a really interesting and good learning journey for me. They are growing in those plastic raised beds that you can get from Bunnings or the warehouse. I was told that they probably wouldn't do very well in those beds, but they seem to be doing fine. I did say that there were 4 crowns per bed, but there isn't actually. There's only 2 crowns per bed. That was a decision I made, thinking that 2 should be fine. I thought they were big enough for that, and they seem to have been okay, and definitely deep enough as well. The Kumara harvest was good. I was really pleased with it. I've never grown Kumara before because I've always thought it's just too cold here in Canterbury for it. But I thought with those black raised beds that I've done them in, that the sun would warm the soil enough so that I would get a good crop, or at least I'd have a chance to be a good crop. I planted the slips in, I think, very early November, so now being mid-June, they've had a good time in the ground. But anyone who lives in Canterbury will tell you that our summer last year was a bit bleh. So I'm hoping if we get a good summer next year, they'll get some extra heat and they'll develop more into nice big chunky ones rather than the long thin ones. But I'll use them all. I've got plans for the whole lot of them. Now I'll put links in the descriptions on how to grow kumara and how to grow asparagus, so that if anyone's interested, there's some information there for you. As you can see from the later part of this vlog, I now actually have a mic, so that's great. It means that I don't have to keep making sure that the camera's right up to me so you can hear me, and I don't feel like I need to yell at the camera, so that's really awesome. I'd like to thank everyone for following and subscribing. It's been great seeing the numbers climb. But for those of you who haven't yet subscribed and you feel that you'd like to, it's free to do so, and it just makes my day when I see those numbers climb. So to help with the YouTube algorithm, if you can comment, like, and watch the video all the way through, that would be awesome. But for now, I'd like to wish you a happy and safe week, and I look forward to catching up with you again in next week's vlog. Bye.